Police officers of Reddit, what are you thinking when you see cases like George Floyd? For all the police officers here, what would the charges be if one of the bystanders pulled the police officer off of the poor guy? Wow, thanks for gold. Assault on a police officer, obstruction of justice, and probably resisting arrest, depending on state laws of course. That gets tossed in as an easy one to charge, but usually gets played off in court. I fear that, if someone had intervened, that version of the story never would have received publicity. Death is a much more weighty headline. It's hard to intervene when there's no visible precedent of it being effective, and there is a strong precedent of reactive brutality. I wish we had positive stories available on the news in which de-escalation worked, but in a similar way to flattening the curve, it's so much harder to count saved lives than lost ones. Nah, you'd see it on r/justice served with the title "Idiot tries to interfere with arrest, gets wrecked." If this ain't the truth. That sub is chock full of racists and bootlickers. I don't get how people feel so satisfied at a criminal getting 10 shots to their body. Yeah, they did something bad, but how does that give you satisfaction? And they didn't even necessarily do anything bad, they did something illegal. Legality and morality aren't perfectly aligned, Imo. I bet almost every single adult in the world has done something illegal at some point in their lives. We are all criminals. I'm a former police officer, and so have had plenty of training in physical restraint of individuals being arrested. There is no police academy training officers to kneel on someone's neck to subdue them. That's how you kill a person. There is extensive training on how to avoid seriously injuring a person while restraining them, and I guarantee you every one of these officers was trained to never strike a person in the neck or choke them. The officer who killed him is very clearly liable for manslaughter at the very least, and I think the other officers who stood by have some accountability as well, because they knew damn well that was not how you handle a person, and should have stepped up. Here's my question. Given that this officer was actively killing a man through an illegal use of force, what would have happened had a non-police officer stopped him? Granted, then the outcome wouldn't have killed the man, and thus there would have been no death to show that the use of force was obviously excessive. But that's the part that really makes me angry. Anyone who would have tried to stop this would have been arrested on the spot for assaulting an officer, even though the officer was literally murdering another human being. Lawyer here. While the literal text of most justification/necessity defenses would apply to using force in that situation, most likely the Good Samaritan would be charged with obstruction or interference with public duties. They would then have to convince a jury that there was no other reasonable recourse short of physical force. That's a tall order, and I'd be real nervous for my client. In a worst case scenario, our hypothetical Samaritan gets tased or shot, or killed for their troubles. My thoughts? Record and verbally demand the officer stop is probably the wisest course. But that is exactly what happened, and clearly the end result is that the cop didn't stop and someone died. The wisest course, because unfortunately a more interfering action may get you seriously hurt or killed. Yeah, those situations don't often have win-win endings, unfortunately. Exactly, I saw some comments ripping up the bystanders saying they're cowards and just as guilty for just watching. I swear some people don't understand that sometimes every option is a loss. Yeah, attacking an armed murderer whose armed friends are close by. What could go wrong with that? Exactly. It'd be a damn shame if the recorder got shot by accident and they had to confiscate the phone as evidence. Who knows, maybe the phone gets destroyed and the recording is permanently lost. Not a local, I'm a Fed. 5 years into the job. George Floyd was murdered, and it's fucking disgusting. We are trained that anything involving the neck is a no-go and is considered deadly force. We were also trained that if you make an arrest in a prone position, you search and then immediately move them onto their side or a seated position, because the risk of asphyxiation is so great. If a suspect says they can't breathe, believe them and take measures to correct to it. This training is reinforced at least twice a year in our use of force training. These officers deserve to spend the rest of their lives in prison. It's reassuring to hear this. Any suggestions on how employment screening could be improved to avoid letting people like this join the ranks and tarnish the reputation of all the good cops? I'm not a cop, but I think we need a new organization specifically for investigating police corruption and crime. This organization should have an anonymous phone number good policemen can call to report crime, corruption, racists, etc. within a local or state police force and have them investigated. This is the FBI. Policemen can call as informants to report this behavior and remain anonymous. Don't the FBI do other stuff these days? I'm talking about an organization that does nothing else. Yay, their main mission is national security, but they have dedicated squads that investigate police conduct throughout the US. It's only for certain types though, and given everything that's going on maybe that mission should be shifted to what you're talking about. Can't you report him to Internal Affairs or something besides the FBI? I'm not from the US, but I have seen many cops shows. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Internal Affairs is supposed to do that, but that varies greatly by area, and usually only larger police forces have that department. Plus there is almost no public transparency, which is what I think would help in cases like this. Some larger cities have a police accountability committee which is staffed by public officials to ensure an extra layer of investigation. This is helpful in areas where the blowline is not willing to hold their own accountable. Also, police unions need to take a tougher stand on serial offenders like this cop. He has a clear pattern of abuse, of escalating abuse. But his union is duty bound to protect him even to the detriment of the rest of the force. We need unions, but there needs to be caveats for situations and union members like this. The way I think of it is that, if I'm a cop and witness a coworker doing something I'm not okay with, how could I report it and ensure my own personal safety? If I give it to my department's internal affairs, it could be seen by someone who worked previously with the subject of my complaint. Retired after 28 years. Nothing less than murder. All the guys I worked with would never have considered doing something like that. You treat combative in custodies once they are secured as human beings. Nothing should be personal. Once they've been subdued and you are safe as an officer, you stand him up, pat him down, and understand that your arrestee is at a low point in his life. Give him some dignity and you'll generally get his respect. It works 90+% of the time. That man was subdued and nobody should have been on him at that point. The key phrase I keep hearing / reading in these cases, where the bad cop directly suffocates / strangles someone, or fibrillates their heart with a taser, or cracks their skull. Or maybe didn't touch them at all is, I can't breathe. Seems to me that this phrase should be an automatic emergency ambulance ride. You shouldn't look at someone who is having difficulty breathing, and then, for example, sit on them, on top of hot asphalt. You get the medical attention before they drop dead. That is, if you don't want them to die. But it takes time for the ambulance to get there. Which is why you put someone complaining of breathing problems in a position other than one that causes positional asphyxiation. Arresting someone who isn't willing to be arrested is a violent process. But once they are in handcuffs, the hard part is over, and it's time to chill out and act like a professional. Plus, all the more reason to take them to a hospital if the suspect still doesn't chill out. Some of those videos where the officers were shouting "stop resisting" while the suspect was clearly convulsing are pretty hardcore snuff films. In my opinion, cops need to adjust how far they are willing to go based on the suspected crime or the continued danger of that suspect. If the suspect has stolen something, or was involved in drug dealing or violated traffic, then don't use force to subdue them. Their crimes don't justify potentially injuring / killing them, or innocent parties in the surrounding. The issue is that some will use this to prevent arrest. I.e., it's just cannabis, I'll just keep escalating until they let me go. Then you'll get the victims complaining he stole my wallet, but the police did nothing, because they might have injured him. That's a foolish precedent to establish. It's basically saying only arrest people who feel like being arrested. Not arrest. I'm only talking about the use of lethal force. If it's a murderer, rapist, anyone who is a real imminent threat to society, threaten and use lethal force. If it's not a real threat to society in the moment, don't shoot them. When they resist arrest, don't go on car chases. You said force and then specified injury or killing. Those are broad nets to cast. Arrest situations and car stops are ever evolving. So Mac and Plessy that revolves solely on the initial suspected charge instead of the situation happening at the moment is a dangerous and inappropriate way of handling arrests. I can steal a Snickers bar and when stopped pull a knife and attack the officer. Saying well his original charge was shoplifting means I must just allow this to happen is a business solution to this issue. Now if you want to narrow it down to just use of lethal force, that is already pretty narrowed down by the courts. Lethal force is only permitted in self-defense life or death scenarios. No one here that I have seen approves of this incident or thinks his actions were appropriate. So I don't see what more there is to discuss in regards to lethal force. I don't care of any departments who train you to crush a cuffed person's neck for 8 minutes as a lethal force option or an option at all. Absolutely sick to my stomach. I'm a lieutenant in my hometown police department. I started my day by showing the video to my officers and making sure my people understood that this is murder, plain and simple. You never, outside of a life and death struggle, do anything like this. George Floyd was handcuffed and on the ground. If he was still struggling badly enough that they felt a need to hold him down, there's 100 ways to do it safely. Use of force should always be as measured and considered as possible. There will always be times where an officer sees danger and has to make a split-second decision without the luxury of weighing the consequences. That clearly was not the case here. He had all the time in the world to think about what he was doing. He had multiple people there telling him to stop, and none of his fellow officers intervened. All of that is why I find this incident particularly disgusting. They had so many chances to do the right thing. Luckily, I have the fortune of working with good people who see this shit for what it is. Before the video was over, before I told them that George Floyd died because of this, my officers were muttering things like, "What the fuck is he doing? You can't do that shit, and he needs to get off the man's fucking neck." Made me way prouder to be their leader than any number of arrests they could make to see that their instincts were not to defend the officer. For what it's worth, I'm glad that they were fired. I've heard mention in this thread that one of the officers has been arrested, which is great if true. I hope they are all brought to justice. Their actions, and lack thereof, were completely unconscionable. Couldn't have said it any better. Waiting patiently to see the autopsy report. I bet it has to do with a crushed trachea. I'm thinking it's lack of blood to the brain, as the officer's knee looked to be right on his carotid artery. Though it wouldn't surprise me if it came back as natural causes or overdose to try to play the whole thing as an accident unconnected to the arrest. Deadly overdose of a new street drug the kids are calling 200-pound man kneeling on your neck, wicked high but only during your last 5 seconds of life. Yes, plus one couldn't see from the angle, but it looked to me that his trailing right knee may have been exerting pressure on thoracic cage to i.e. positional asphyxia. Also looked like a second officer was involved behind the van. I thought that, due to what little movement he had, it felt like there must have been 1 or 2 officers restraining the rest of him, as when he did try to thrash it was limited to his shoulders only. There were 2 other officers on his back and legs. Cop here. Disgusted. There are a 1000 reasons why this shouldn't have happened. Simple, easy, steps that should have been taken. Lessons that policing has learned over the past 200 years and basic things taught in every academy. Make no mistake, this was murder. Maybe not premeditated murder, but nonetheless murder. I will be angry if those officers do not get indicted. He's apparently been involved in at least 2 other deaths, including shooting a fleeing suspect in the back. I don't know, given that history, premeditation seems reasonable. That is inexcusable. Unfortunately, does this mean that he won't be charged? It's happened 2 times before, after all. Unfortunately, bad press is a motivating factor in getting the DA to do their job instead of just the straight facts. My question would be, is there a separate body that looks at these police shootings that is outside of the police depth and the DA's office that works closely with the police? Or do we have to keep doing this and having these murders, and the only time the killers get in trouble is if there's enough publicity to get the justice the victims deserve? Exactly. If this wasn't publicized to the point that it has been, it would have been rug swept and forgotten about. Imagine how many more cases there are out there that happened to. It's a sad and scary thought. And a thought that shows without drastic, sweeping change, this sort of thing will continue. To say it fucking sucks is a criminal understatement. Sheriff's deputy here, and I must say that I'm disgusted by the unnecessary loss of life. There are moments that make me regret what I do, and this is one of them. I've met my share of racists wearing a badge, and I'm ready for a career change. The oath we take is to uphold the law and constitution, so for the officers on scene there that could have stepped in and prevented this, fuck you. One bad apple always ruins the bunch, unfortunately. I pray for the Georges family and that justice is served. Throw away for obvious reasons, and yes, I'm a white male. Edit. Wasn't expecting this to blow up as it has. I'm responding to you guys when I can, and I'm glad we can have a conversation about this. We do not unionize in my state for law enforcement, and I see many comments about systemic protection and abuse. I have never worked under a police union, but I have worked with people who were unionized, and I have heard my share of stories where law is protected by the union. Stories I hear are about union protection from bad leadership, but I can imagine those protections may extend further in cases such as this. See, people say things like not all cops are bad, but based on what I've read in this sub, a lot of good cops quit because they get tired of the corruption and racism. The law enforcement system seems to filter out the good guys and the jerks are overrepresented. Yes. Systems that reward arsehole behavior, for instance, by a lack of accountability, by increased profits etc., produce a significantly higher share of arseholes. It's like that in the police, it's like that in politics, and it's like that in business. Even the Karen calling the manager meme stems from that. Here the arsehole system is the flawed notion of the customer is always right. Increased profits, oh yeah. Those court fees. Especially in those town courts. Justice is definitely not a priority. Sociopaths who know how to play the system prevail. Victims are prosecuted. Easily half of the court appearances end in 10 minutes with a plea and a fee.